Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
The notification pinged at 7:23 a.m. on a Sunday, right as I was debugging a server issue for the city's water department. Nothing unusual about that. Sarah's phone automatically synced photos to our shared cloud account, had for years. Usually vacation pics, dinner shots, the occasional work event she'd forget to mention later. But this batch felt different. I clicked through them mechanically while my coffee cooled. Standard restaurant shots from Friday night. Her smiling at a corner table, wine glass raised. Then him, Marcus Rivera, her boss for the last 18 months. His hand on her shoulder, both of them laughing like they'd just shared some private joke. The timestamp read 9:47 p.m. Her expense report, which I'd seen on the kitchen counter Saturday morning, claimed a solo client dinner, ending at 8:15 p.m. I scrolled further. More photos, taken with the front-facing camera. Closer. More intimate. His jacket draped over her chair. Her hand on his arm. The kind of casual touches that happen when people forget they're being photographed. The restaurant's ambient lighting cast them in golden tones, like a magazine spread for successful couples. The last photo stopped me cold. Location services embedded in the metadata. 1247, Riverside Drive, Unit 12B. Marcus Rivera's address. According to the company directory I'd pulled up 6 months ago when Sarah first started mentioning him in every other sentence. The timestamp was 11:23 p.m., 2 hours after her supposed business dinner had ended. I leaned back in my chair, processing the implications. 12 years of marriage, and she thought Cloud Sync was just for convenience. She'd forgotten that when you marry an IT consultant, privacy becomes a collaborative effort. My phone buzzed. Instagram notification. Sarah had posted to her story. The photo was professional, staged. Both of them at Meridian, the upscale place downtown where she'd supposedly taken her biggest client. Marcus in his charcoal suit, Sarah in that blue dress she'd bought specifically for important meetings. They looked like a power couple celebrating a merger. His arm was around her waist, her head tilted toward him with the kind of intimate familiarity that doesn't happen during business dinners. The caption made my blood turn to ice water. Working late with my real partner flexed biceps #dreamteam, #workhusband, getting it done. I screenshot it immediately, preserving the timestamp, the metadata, the geolocation data. Then I opened 3 browser tabs, my mind shifting into the methodical analysis mode that had served me well in 20 years of systems troubleshooting. Tab 1. Kinetic Solutions Employee Handbook, Section 12. Ethics and Professional Conduct. Subsection 12. 3. Romantic or intimate relationships between employees in supervisory positions and their direct reports must be disclosed to human resources within 30 days of initiation. Failure to disclose constitutes grounds for immediate termination. I'd read this section before, months ago, when Sarah first started working late with Marcus. Insurance policy thinking. Tab 2. State employment law regarding supervisor-subordinate relationships and corporate liability. Interesting reading. Companies could face significant legal exposure when executives engaged in undisclosed relationships with subordinates, especially when expense accounts and corporate resources were involved. Tab 3. Martindale Directory for divorce attorneys specializing in high-asset cases with adultery components. I bookmarked 3 names, cross-referenced their success rates. Read client reviews. Tom Hendricks looked promising. Former corporate attorney who understood both business relationships and marital law. Sarah walked into my office around 10 a.m., already dressed for her morning run, that post-gym glow that used to make me smile. Now it just looked like guilt with better circulation. Her yoga pants were designer. Her running shoes cost more than my monthly car payment. All purchased, I realized now, during her recent period of working harder, earning more. "Morning, babe," she said, grabbing her water bottle from the shelf. "How's the server situation?" "Fixed," I replied, not looking up from my screen. I'd spent the last 3 hours documenting everything. Screenshots with metadata intact. Her expense reports from the last 6 months, pulled from our shared financial account. Every mention of Marcus in our text conversations. The gradual shift in her schedule, the late nights, the weekend strategy sessions, that somehow required extensive wardrobe updates. She kissed the top of my head, exactly like she had every Sunday for 12 years. "You're so focused. I love that about you." I was reading Tom Hendrick's law firm profile. Former corporate attorney, specialized in executive divorces. Available for Sunday consultations. His website featured case studies of high-asset dissolutions where one spouse had committed career-ending professional misconduct. Perfect. She left for her run. I called Tom. Mr. Hendricks? This is David Morrison. I need to discuss a rather urgent marital dissolution case. His voice was professional, measured. What's the urgency, Mr. Morrison? My wife is having an affair with her direct supervisor. She just posted evidence of it on social media. I believe we have approximately 24 hours before this becomes a corporate crisis that will complicate asset protection. I see. Can you be here at 2 p.m.? Bring any documentation you have. By 2 p.m., I had a plan that would make a chess grandmaster weep with envy. Tom's office occupied the top floor of a converted warehouse downtown, all exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows. He reviewed my documentation with the focused attention of a surgeon examining x-rays. This is extraordinary, he said, scrolling through the screenshots on my laptop. She's essentially documented her own professional misconduct and adultery simultaneously. That's what I thought. The expense report discrepancies alone would trigger an internal audit. The Instagram post makes it a public relations nightmare. He leaned back in his leather chair. Mr. Morrison, in 30 years of practice, I've never seen someone hand-deliver evidence of their own wrongdoing so thoroughly. What's our timeline? We file tomorrow. Emergency petition based on adultery and financial misconduct. The quicker we move, the better positioned you are when the corporate investigation begins. Corporate investigation? Tom smiled the smile of someone who'd watched this movie many times before. Oh, there will definitely be a corporate investigation. Companies don't ignore ethics violations when they're posted on social media, especially not when executives are involved. We spent 3 hours crafting what Tom called the most airtight adultery case he'd prepared in 15 years. Asset protection strategies, evidence preservation protocols, communication lockdown procedures. By 5 p.m., I was equipped to dismantle 12 years of marriage with surgical precision. At 3:47 p.m., while Tom's paralegal prepared the final documents, I posted my comment on her Instagram story. Kitchen table. Divorce papers. Enjoy. The notification that she'd seen it came through at 3:51 p.m. My phone started ringing at 3:52 p.m. I let it go to voicemail. David, what the hell? Call me back right now. This isn't funny. David. David. She called 6 more times during her drive home. Each voicemail escalated in panic and confusion. I was in the garage, organizing tools I hadn't touched in months, when she burst through the side door like the house was on fire. What is wrong with you? She screamed, phone still in her hand, cheeks flushed from running in panic. Are you having some kind of breakdown? I held up a single finger. Finished arranging the socket wrenches by size. Organization calms the mind, creates clarity of purpose. Then I turned around and handed her a manila envelope. Divorce petition, I said calmly. Filed 2 hours ago. Tom Hendricks is representing me. His card's attached. She stared at the envelope like it might explode. You can't be serious. Page 12 has the asset division. Page 18 covers the adultery clause. Page 23 lists the evidence I'll be presenting. I paused, watching her face cycle through confusion, denial, and the first pale dawn of understanding. Your Instagram post is Exhibit A, very thoughtful of you to timestamp and geolocate it. Her face went white. Evidence. Metadata from your photos. Location services data. Expense report discrepancies. Text message patterns from our shared cloud backups. Cross-referenced financial records showing unexplained purchases that correlate with your evening meetings. I counted off on my fingers like a shopping list. Oh, and your Instagram post. Thanks for that, by the way. Really saved me some documentation time. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. For the first time in our marriage, Sarah Morrison was speechless. David, I can explain. No need. It's all quite clear. I walked past her toward the house. Guest rooms available. Tom will handle all communication from here. You can't just. Actually, I can. We have no children, no shared businesses, and thanks to your creative expense reporting, I have grounds to challenge any alimony claims. I stopped at the door. Oh, and Sarah, you might want to review Section 12. 3 of your employee handbook. Tonight. Before tomorrow's work. What's Section 12? 3. Ethics policy regarding undisclosed relationships between supervisors and subordinates. Fascinating reading, particularly the section about immediate termination. I closed the door behind me. Through the window, I watched her standing in the garage, holding the divorce papers, finally understanding that her morning run had been the last normal moment of her old life. Monday morning at 6 a.m., I was in Tom's office signing final documents. He'd worked all night preparing what he called the most comprehensive adultery filing he'd seen in 15 years. The Instagram post is devastating, he said, sliding the papers across his desk. She documented her own infidelity and ethics violation simultaneously, and with her boss, no less. It's like she wanted to lose everything at once. She always was efficient, I replied, signing my name with the same steady hand I used to sign birthday cards and anniversary gifts. The asset protection is ironclad. Bank accounts separated, credit cards canceled, investment portfolios secured. She'll wake up this morning to discover she no longer has access to any joint financial resources. And the house, purchased before marriage, deed in your name only. She has no legal claim. Tom gathered the papers into a neat stack. Frankly, David, this is the cleanest dissolution I've ever handled. She's handed you everything you need to walk away with essentially 100% of marital assets. At 8 a.m., I submitted an anonymous ethics complaint to Kinetic Solutions' external hotline. The complaint was masterfully crafted, clinical, and devastating. I believe a senior executive at your organization may be engaged in an undisclosed romantic relationship with a direct subordinate, potentially creating significant legal liability for the company. The attached evidence shows 1. Social media posts documenting an intimate relationship between a supervisor and subordinate. 2. Expense report falsification to conceal personal activities during business trips. 3. Misuse of corporate resources for personal relationships. 4. Potential violations of your stated ethics policies regarding workplace relationships. I believe this situation requires immediate investigation to protect the organization's interests. Attached, Sarah's Instagram screenshot with full metadata. Expense reports from her last 3 business trips with highlighted discrepancies. A timeline of her schedule changes that correlated with Marcus's travel calendar. I used the company's own ethics policy language, their corporate value statements, their legal liability frameworks. It wasn't revenge. It was quality assurance. Then I went to work, debugged 3 server issues, and had lunch at my usual spot. Normal Monday. Except my wife was about to discover that sleeping with your boss and posting about it on social media during a corporate ethics review period was what Tom called career suicide with a side of professional homicide. Sarah called me 17 times between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. I let every single one go to voicemail. The messages started confident. David, we need to talk. This is ridiculous. You're being dramatic. By noon, they turned pleading. Please, just listen to me. It's not what you think. Marcus and I, we're just close friends. The post was a joke. By 2 p.m., panic had set in. David, I'm serious. I can't access our credit cards. The bank says the accounts have been changed. What did you do? By 4 p.m., they were desperate. I know you're getting my calls. This is insane. I'm your wife. We can work this out. The last one, at 5:47 p.m., was barely a whisper. David, I think I'm in trouble at work. HR wants to see me tomorrow morning. Please call me back. Please. I deleted them all and stopped at the hardware store to change every lock in the house. While I was there, I picked up a security system upgrade kit. Time to make sure the house truly became my sanctuary. Tuesday morning brought the first institutional domino. Sarah texted at 7:23 a.m. HR wants to see me at 9. Emergency meeting. Did you do something? I was already at Tom's office, reviewing the asset protection strategy we'd implemented the day before. Bank accounts separated and secured. Credit cards canceled and replaced. Investment accounts transferred into individual retirement trusts. The house, thankfully, was in my name only, a paranoid decision from my 20s that was about to pay massive dividends. How's she taking it? Tom asked, reviewing the final settlement terms. Still thinks she can fix this, I replied. Hasn't realized she's not just losing a husband. She's losing everything. The beauty of institutional consequences, Tom said. is that they operate independently of personal relationships. Even if she could convince you to forgive her, her employer won't be so understanding. At 9:15 a.m., Don texted me. Don worked in Kinetics' IT department, maintained their security systems, handled digital forensics for internal investigations. We'd been poker buddies for 6 years, and he understood the value of information. Bro, your wife and her boss just got called into separate HR meetings. Emergency session. Something about an ethics complaint? They pulled both their email accounts and are doing full digital audits. I texted back, interesting. Dude. Marcus looked like he was heading to his own execution. Sarah kept asking if she needed a lawyer. The HR director told her that would be premature, but not inadvisable. Helpful phrasing. Gets better. They're bringing in outside counsel to conduct the investigation. This isn't just HR housekeeping. This is full corporate crisis management. At 11:30 a.m., Sarah called from the company parking lot, sobbing. They have photos, David. Photos of me and Marcus at dinner, at his apartment, in hotel rooms during business trips. They know about everything. Everything. How did they get these? I was having lunch at Giuseppe's, reading the news on my tablet, enjoying their Tuesday special. I wouldn't know. Don't lie to me. This has your fingerprints all over it. You're the only one who could have accessed my phone backup. Sarah, I didn't access anything. Your photos automatically sync to our shared cloud account. Have for years. I just happened to notice some interesting timestamps and locations. You sent them my photos somehow. I didn't send anyone anything, Sarah. I just told the truth. Silence. Then, very quietly, what truth? That my wife was sleeping with her boss and posting about it on Instagram during a company ethics review cycle. Amazing what institutions do with truth when it lands on their desk with proper documentation. You bastard. You absolute bastard. Probably. But I'm a bastard with clean hands and a very good lawyer. I took another bite of my sandwich. Giuseppe's makes the best Italian beef in the city. How's the meeting going? They suspended me pending investigation. Full digital forensics of my work accounts, personal devices, expense reports. They want to interview Marcus's wife, for Christ's sake. Thorough. David, they're going to fire me. Both of us. This is my career. Everything I've worked for. Should have thought of that before you posted about your real partner on Instagram. She hung up. I finished my lunch and went back to work. Wednesday, broad escalation. Don sent updates like a war correspondent filing dispatches from the front lines. Investigation expanded. They're pulling security footage from the hotel in Dallas, cross-referencing her expense reports with actual locations. Turns out she and Marcus shared a room for 3 nights running. Expensive mistake. Gets worse. Marcus was up for promotion to executive VP. That promotion just evaporated, along with about $200K in additional annual compensation. And his wife found out about the suspension through company gossip. She called HR asking what her husband was accused of. Awkward. 2 marriages, 2 careers, 1 Instagram post. It's like watching a corporate execution in slow motion. Thursday afternoon, Sarah showed up at the house. I was watering the garden when her Uber dropped her off. She looked like she'd aged 5 years in 4 days. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled, her eyes red from crying or drinking or both. The locks are changed, she said flatly. Yes. I can't get into our house. It's my house. Has been since before we were married. I continued watering the roses. Guest entrance is around back. Your things are packed and ready. She walked around to the side gate, dragging her work bag like it weighed 100 pounds. 20 minutes later, she was back, carrying 3 cardboard boxes. This is everything. Everything that belongs to you. I'd been thorough. Clothes, personal items, books, jewelry. Everything neatly packed and labeled. Your car is in your name, so you can take that. Everything else belongs to the marriage, which no longer exists. David, we need to talk. No, we don't. Tom handles all communication now. I'm your wife. You're my soon-to-be ex-wife who committed adultery with her boss and documented it on social media. I turned off the hose. Those are facts, not feelings. She set the boxes down, tried a different approach. I made a mistake. A stupid, terrible mistake. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling, work through it. Sarah, you didn't make a mistake. You made a series of deliberate choices over many months. You chose to sleep with Marcus. You chose to lie about your business expenses. You chose to post about it on Instagram. These weren't mistakes. They were decisions. It just happened. We didn't plan it. You planned it enough to book hotel rooms together. You planned it enough to coordinate your schedules. You planned it enough to create fake expense reports. I picked up the hose again. What you didn't plan was getting caught. So that's it. 12 years of marriage, and you throw it all away over one affair? I didn't throw anything away, Sarah. I just stopped pretending to be blind. The roses needed more water. They'd been neglected while I dealt with the collapse of my marriage. You want to know what threw away our marriage? Check your Instagram post. She stood there for another 10 minutes, watching me work, waiting for me to change my mind or show some emotion or give her an opening to negotiate. But there was nothing to negotiate. She'd already negotiated away everything that mattered. Finally, she loaded her boxes into her car and drove away. I finished watering the garden and went inside to make dinner for one. Friday afternoon, the final domino fell. Tom called me at 4:30 p.m. They fired them both, he said. Immediate termination for ethics violations. Sarah lost her unvested stock options, about $40,000. Marcus forfeited his entire severance package, plus their clawing back bonuses from the last 2 years. Clean. Surgical. Company covered their liability by acting swiftly and decisively. Your wife and her boss are now unemployed, professionally toxic, and facing their own respective divorce proceedings. What about references? Internal policy prevents them from giving positive references for employees terminated for ethics violations. They'll confirm employment dates only. Tom paused. David, this is the most comprehensive destruction I've ever seen accomplished through purely legal means. You didn't break a single law, didn't file a false report, didn't even lie. You just let the truth work. The truth is remarkably effective when properly documented. Indeed, the divorce hearing is scheduled for next Thursday at 10 a.m. Given the circumstances, I expect a very brief proceeding. I hung up and poured myself a scotch. Outside, it was a perfect autumn evening. The kind Sarah used to love, when she'd make us sit on the porch and watch the sunset, talking about her day, her dreams, her plans for the future. Now her future was a studio apartment and a retail job, if she was lucky. The house felt different that night. Quieter. Like the air itself had been cleaned of years of accumulated deception. Saturday morning, Marcus showed up at my door. I was trimming hedge roses when the BMW pulled into my driveway. He sat in the car for 5 minutes before getting out, probably rehearsing whatever desperate speech he'd crafted the night before. Through my peripheral vision, I could see him checking his phone, running his hands through his hair, working up the courage for a conversation that was already over. David, he said, walking toward me like he was approaching a bomb. We need to talk. I kept trimming. The roses required precise cuts, clean angles. Sloppy pruning killed the plant. No, we don't. Look, man to man, this has gone too far. Sarah's just unemployed. She's a good person who made a mistake. She made a choice. Multiple choices. Documented choices. I looked up at him. Marcus Rivera, former regional VP, standing in my driveway in jeans and a polo shirt, looking like any other middle-aged guy whose life had just imploded. So did you. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen? You sleep with your subordinate for 18 months, she posts about it on social media during your promotion review, and somehow nobody notices? He ran his hands through his hair, the gesture of a man who'd been doing that a lot lately. We were going to handle it properly. Disclose the relationship, transfer her to a different department. When? Soon. We just needed time to. You had 18 months. You chose to spend it lying to your wife, lying to your company, and fucking mine. I went back to my roses. The morning light was perfect for this work. Time's up. My kids don't understand why I'm moving out. My wife hired a private investigator. I might lose my house. You definitely will. Adultery clause in your state, too. I cut a particularly stubborn branch. Sarah's learning the same lesson. This is destroying 4 lives. No, Marcus. Your choices destroyed 4 lives. I just made sure the right people knew about those choices. He stood there for another minute, watching me work. The roses were responding well to proper care. Neglect them for years, and they still come back with the right attention. Finally, was it worth it? Destroying 4 lives over one mistake? I stopped cutting, set down my pruning shears, looked at him directly. Marcus, you didn't make one mistake. You made about 500 mistakes, one after another, for a year and a half. You chose to pursue a married woman. You chose to violate your company's ethics policy. You chose to risk your marriage, your career, your family's financial security. You chose to let her post evidence of your relationship on social media. And you chose to destroy us. I chose to stop pretending I didn't see the truth. I picked up my pruning shears. The destruction was already happening. I just made it visible. So what now? Now you go home to your studio apartment, update your resume, and explain to your teenagers why daddy can't afford their college tuition anymore. I returned to my pruning. And I finished my garden. He left without another word. The BMW pulled out of my driveway slowly, like he was reluctant to accept that this conversation was the end of something. I spent the rest of Saturday morning working in the garden. The physical labor felt good, purposeful. Each cut, each plant tended, each section weeded and watered. Order restored through methodical work. The divorce hearing was scheduled for the following Thursday at 10 a.m. Sarah showed up with a public defender, all she could afford now, while Tom and I arrived with 3 banker's boxes of documentation. The courtroom was small, windowless, fluorescent lit like an office building conference room. Sarah sat across from me at the polished oak table, shoulders tight, lips pressed into a flat line. She tried to dress professionally, but her clothes looked wrong somehow, like she'd borrowed them from someone else's life. Her lawyer, some overconfident junior partner from a boutique firm downtown, flipped through his binder like he was searching for magic that wasn't there. He kept glancing at our documentation, 3 boxes of evidence that told the story of 18 months of methodical deception. The judge, Honorable Patricia Kim, entered at exactly 10 a.m. and took her seat with the efficient movements of someone who'd presided over hundreds of marital disasters. She reviewed our preliminary filing with the thoroughness of a surgeon examining x-rays. Mr. Chun, she said, addressing Sarah's attorney, your client engaged in an extramarital affair with her direct supervisor, documented it on social media, and subsequently lost her employment for ethics violations? Mr. Chun cleared his throat and began his opening remarks with all the confidence of a man who'd just realized he was walking into a buzzsaw. Your Honor, we believe the emotional distress and breakdown of communication in the marriage. That's not what I asked. Judge Kim's voice carried the authority of 30 years on the bench. The facts as presented, adultery, documented misconduct, employment termination. Are these facts in dispute? Well, Your Honor, the circumstances surrounding. Mr. Chun, yes or no? Are these facts in dispute? Sarah leaned over and whispered something to her attorney. He nodded reluctantly. No, Your Honor. The facts are not in dispute. Judge Kim turned to Tom. Mr. Hendricks, walk me through the asset division. Tom stood, crisp and professional. Your Honor, petitioner contributed 91% of marital assets over the course of the 12-year marriage. The family residence was purchased prior to marriage and remains in petitioner's name exclusively. Respondent's recent employment termination eliminates her ability to contribute to joint financial obligations going forward. What about spousal support? State statute provides no alimony obligation when adultery can be documented beyond reasonable doubt. We have substantial evidence of respondent's extramarital relationship, including social media posts, expense report falsification, and testimony from the respondent's former employer regarding ethics violations. The judge spent 20 minutes reviewing our evidence. Instagram screenshots with full metadata analysis. Location services data showing extended stays at the affair partner's residence. Expense report comparisons revealing systematic falsification of business trip activities. Text message threads recovered from cloud backups showing explicit planning of romantic encounters. A timeline of lies that read like a masterclass in self-destruction. Mrs. Morrison, Judge Kim said finally, do you dispute any of these facts? Sarah, who had been sitting silent and pale for the entire hearing, whispered, No, Your Honor. The adultery is documented? Yes, Your Honor. The relationship was with your direct supervisor at work? Yes, Your Honor. The professional misconduct resulted in your termination? Yes, Your Honor. And you posted evidence of this relationship on social media? Sarah closed her eyes. Yes, Your Honor. Judge Kim removed her glasses, cleaned them methodically, and put them back on. In 30 years on this bench, I've never seen someone document their own misconduct so thoroughly. The petition is granted in full. Mr. Morrison retains all marital assets, including the family residence. No alimony awarded. Respondent has 30 days to relocate any remaining personal property. Gavel down. Marriage over. Justice delivered with the efficiency of a well-run business. In the hallway afterward, Sarah finally spoke to me directly. 12 years, she said, tears running mascara down her cheeks. 12 years, and you threw it all away over one Instagram post. I looked at her for a long moment. Once, this woman had been everything to me. Partner, confidant, best friend, lover. Now she was just evidence of my own poor judgment and character assessment. I didn't throw anything away, Sarah. I just stopped pretending to be blind. You ruined my life. You documented your own choices. I just made sure the right people saw the documentation. I adjusted my tie, ready to leave this courthouse and never come back. The Instagram post was your idea. The affair was your choice. The lies were your decision. I just watched. She walked away then, heels clicking on marble floors, toward a future that contained none of the things she'd taken for granted that morning when she'd posted about her real partner. 6 months later, I was back in my home office on a Sunday morning, debugging a server issue for the city's library system. My coffee was hot, my house was quiet, and my phone notifications were limited to work emergencies and poker invitations from Dawn. The garden was thriving. The roses had responded beautifully to consistent care and attention. The hedge was perfectly trimmed. The sprinkler system ran like clockwork. Order restored through methodical work and patience. An Instagram notification popped up. Someone had tagged me in a post about new beginnings and learning from mistakes. Sarah, apparently, had found work at a retail chain and wanted to share her journey of personal growth and finding herself after difficult times. The post showed her in a red vest, smiling behind a customer service counter, with a caption about embracing change and grateful for second chances. 12 comments, mostly from distant relatives and former coworkers expressing vague support. I deleted the notification without reading it in detail. Outside, the morning was perfect for garden work. The sun was warm, the air was clean, and my neighbor was walking his dog past the perfectly maintained lawn that I now watered, mowed, and fertilized entirely by myself. He waved. I waved back. Normal interaction between normal neighbors in a normal neighborhood where normal people lived normal lives without the complications of adultery and corporate ethics violations. Some people plant flowers. Others plant evidence. Both grow exactly what they're supposed to. The difference is that flowers require ongoing care, while evidence tends to flourish on its own once properly rooted in institutional soil. My roses needed daily attention, seasonal pruning, and careful fertilization. Sarah's Instagram post needed nothing more than a single screenshot to bloom into divorce papers and unemployment benefits. I finished my coffee, pulled on my gardening gloves, and stepped outside into the quiet Sunday morning of a life that finally belonged entirely to me.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.